This corona crisis, as I call it, it's a smokescreen for something that's been going on for years, and when I was your age, I was in Vietnam and I was flying for the Marine Corps. When my rich dad sent me a letter saying, watch out, the world's going to change. And the world changed because President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard on August 15th, 1971. But back then in the 70s, being on an aircraft carrier, I didn't get that letter for like 6 months. That's how long it took to get to me. Now you guys go, ding, ding, and you're there. I mean, the world is really no world at all. But he warned me that the world would change, and I didn't really understand it at the time. But that's when my curiosity about gold and money and all this really changed. So today, when I look at the corona crisis, but more the financial crisis, it's really, really horrifying because the financial crisis started back in 1971. And the reason I'm a rich man today is because, I knew something was wrong. I didn't know until 72. When I flew behind enemy lines to go buy some gold, and I didn't know what gold was. It was illegal for Americans to own gold in 1972. And I thought that was really strange. So my life brought me up to this moment. So I'm very happy to be talking to you because the corona crisis, while serious, the biggest crisis is the financial crisis. And your generation, the millennials, have been screwed. I mean, big time. Big time. I mean, if you understand how money is created, money is credit and debt. That's all it is. Credit, debt, and taxes. That's what money really is. Mm-hmm. But they don't teach you that in school. So today, the reason the world economy is crashing goes all the way back to 71. But what happened in 71, they could just make fake money, and they can keep printing fake money. And this is the US dollar. The US can keep printing fake money for a number of years yet. Mm-hmm. And the only way they could keep the economy expanding, they had to find people stupid enough to get into debt. So as you know, one of the most, I didn't have this as a kid, it's called a credit card. Now everybody has credit cards, but they never teach you how to use it.
Yeah.
Now, why did they have a credit card? It's because they needed more money. So they keep expanding the economy. They keep finding people stupid enough to just get into debt. So give them credit cards and all this and say, well, you give auto loans. But I think the most dastardly thing for your generation was in 2009 when President Obama went to the banks and said, look, we need to get the students more into debt under the guise of you need to get a good education. The thing I've said before, and I'll say it again because some people need to hear it, your generation, this thing called, my cell phone, didn't come out until 2007.
Yeah.
The millennial generation was given the most powerful single tool ever given to any generation. And what are you guys using this thing for? To Twitter, to, social? I don't know what you guys do with this thing. But I love this thing. I mean, I'm on YouTube constantly. I find the best teachers in the world out there. I mean, I don't know why anybody would go to college because the best teachers are on YouTube for free. Mm-hmm. I learned, and it's not that the teacher is the best. The thing I love about YouTube is I can get one person says X and the guy that says no, that's Y. And so I'll listen to both sides. But that's where your intelligence grows because both sides have a point of view. And I listen to both sides. But if you're in college, you got to listen to one idiot who's boring, and I really did not like school, you can tell.
Yeah.
First of all, is I didn't want to become an employee. Every time the teacher says, go to school and get a job. And I said, but I don't want a job. And it didn't make sense to me because I had a rich dad. My poor dad was an employee. He was a good one. But personally, I didn't want to become an employee. But your generation now must. That's the difference.
Yeah.
You must. You don't have that option. The people that will get hammered, I'm writing this paper right now. It's taking me 4 months because it's a tough paper. It's called The Brave New World. And what this corona crisis represents is we're going into a brave new world. And I don't know if you guys follow this, but we were on the edge of recession prior to January 2020. As I said in prophecy, I said it would come in 2016, but I didn't foresee it. I started prophecy in 1999, but I didn't foresee quantitative easing and zero interest rates. I didn't foresee how desperate our leaders are, the Federal Reserve Bank, the Treasury, Wall Street, and even putting students in debt. I cannot believe how desperate people are. And I was just talking to Mona, and she was saying, everybody's raising their prices. They want a higher percentage of my books, and everybody's so desperate because this world, starting from 1971, is so deeply in debt.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't teach you that in school. So that's my concern. And so my prophecy, which I started in 1999, came true in 2020. The world's never going to be the same. And I know there's people sitting at home right now saying, oh, I'll go back to school and get my job. I mean, or I'll go back to work at a job. And many people, in my world, they say, well, it's going to be a V bottom. It means a crash comes and we go straight up. I don't think so. Next one will be, it goes a U shape. So it'll go down, we'll go back to work, it'll come up slowly. I don't think so. And then there's a W, it goes down, up, down, up. I don't think so. I think it's going to come down and go L. So the question I say to people is and the people that work at Rich Dad know we've been preparing for this time. So the Rich Dad company is flush. We're making a lot of money, better than ever before, but we were prepared for coronavirus 2020.
Yeah, recession proof is what we call it.
Well, I don't know if we're recession proof, but this is the difference. Is I'm now preparing for depression.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we made it. Kim and I and the team made it to 2020.
Yeah.
And we're flush with cash. I have gold and silver and all that. Like I said, you should have told me about Bitcoin, but I didn't get it. Anyway,
Sorry about that, Robert.
but I did get a cell phone. And I do tweet.
You're prepared in other ways, yeah.
But anyway, so I would be preparing right now for the L. Mm-hmm. What if we go into a depression? Mm-hmm. And that's the thinking I am at right now. So I'm pushing the company. We cannot rest on our laurels. Do you know what I mean? Hey, we're rich. Need to move on. So that's why I'm happy to be talking to the millennials, because you guys have been screwed the most with student loan debt, massive. I don't know if you understand money, but there's only 4.5 trillion in base money, M1. There's about 225 trillion in debt. That means there's only 4.5 trillion for 225 trillion in debt. The machine's going to stop soon. I don't know when, but it's going to stop. And when it comes to a stop, that's when my gold, silver, and Bitcoin will go through the roof.
Yeah.
But I'm prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so your generation has the most powerful tool ever created. And the best teachers are on YouTube and they're free. And it's important to go to school if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, accountant, something like that. Mm-hmm. But to be rich, you don't have to go to school. Some of the comments I get on my Twitter that say, well, I tried to make money and I lost, so I'm never going to do that again. Well, that's a loser. How many times have I failed? You guys have seen me, like you guys have been around me for years. I get screwed and blued and tattooed just like everybody else. But each crash makes me stronger, anti-fragile.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. And everybody has that in them. Even if they didn't go to a great school, we all have a spirit. We all have a soul. We all have dreams. We all have desires. But it takes time. It's like Tiger Woods didn't become the greatest golfer on earth taking one golf lesson. You know what I mean? He lost. He's gone down. He's gone up. He's the greatest athlete I know. But he took his back out. His wife divorced him, and his wife took a 8-iron to his SUV. He's publicly humiliated. He can't play golf, but he still comes back and wins the Masters again. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. We all have that in us, except if we have a bad attitude in our mind. So some of those comments I've seen on my Twitter site is, well, I'm not interested in money. Well, your host. Those few words, I'm not interested in money, or I don't want to be rich, screws you for the rest of your life. If they took Rich Dad away and all my money away, I wouldn't change a thing. Mm-hmm. I'd still be doing the same thing.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of people, if they lose their job, they change jobs. But this is my job. You know,
Yeah.
this is my mission. And that's why I went to military school versus university. And I went to the Marine Corps versus the Peace Corps. You know what I mean? That's a different being. So everybody has that spirit inside of them. It's a lot of times, especially when times are good, you don't have to call on your spirit. You just cruise. You get a job, you can make some money. But right now, when you're sitting at home, is a good time to reevaluate life. So if I could show you this is book number 2 in the Rich Dad series. You know, it's E stands for employee, S, B, and I. E is employee. That little voice in your head is saying, I'm looking for a good, nice, safe, secure job with benefits. If you don't change those thoughts, you stay here. Nothing wrong with it, except in the future. Because as you know, technology or AI and all this stuff is going to make these guys less and less important. Or you can be an S and you can say, well, if you don't want it done right, do it by yourself. So the definition of an S is they're like a doctor. They can perform their job on their own. Or an accountant can do their job on their own. Or a tech person can do their job, or an auto mechanic can do it. There's nothing wrong with it. But it limits them to this, and these guys pay the highest of all taxes. So most people, when they say, I want to start a business, they're saying, I want to start a business, they go here. So, oh, I started a business. The trouble with this side is they're working for money,
Mhm.
and money is taxed. So as long as I don't have a job, I'm not taxed. I think it's pretty funny, personally. But anyway, and B is big business. That's Bezos and Gates and Zuckerberg. And I is insider. These guys are outside investors, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETF. I just wanted to be an insider. So if you're sitting at home right now, be thinking, what do I have to do to make these changes? Like I've said all the time, you can be here and you can be here. You can be in more than one place. So when I'm sitting around talking, I'm actually all for. You know, sometimes I'm working for my own company. I'm an employee of my own company. Right now I'm working on a project, so I'm self-employed. I'm doing it by myself. As an investor, I'm always investing in big businesses. I don't invest in small businesses. I made too many mistakes. There's 2 kinds of entrepreneurs, small and smart. So I invest in smart entrepreneurs, not small entrepreneurs. A small entrepreneur doesn't have a bookkeeper. That's the first thing. They have QuickBooks or Quicken or whatever they have, or they have LegalZoom. I'm out. You know, they want to do it on their own. On this side, I can't do it on my own. And in the world today, these guys are Shark Tank guys. You know, Mark Cuban and all that. So their mindset is different, but they also have the experience to be here. They're competent. You know, I can say, well, I want to be here, but I wasn't competent for years. Now I'm pretty competent because I have a team. It took years to get here.